Traditional Scandinavian cuisine relies heavily on rich, dense ingredients. Historic regional meals often center around high-fat items like thick pork chops, heavy gravy, and creamy reindeer stews. Permanently plated right next to these heavy, savory dishes is a dollop of bright, tart wild fruit, like lingonberries. While this pairing creates a specific flavor profile, biological research suggests the fruit functions as a targeted physical defense mechanism. Clinical studies demonstrate that consuming a high-fat diet actively disrupts the bacterial ecosystem living inside the human gut. When these dense fats throw the microbiome out of balance, it triggers a state of low-grade chronic inflammation throughout the body. This systemic inflammation drives metabolic disorders, damages the liver, and increases heart disease risk. To observe how wild berries interact with this process, researchers in 2014 and 2021 ran clinical trials on subjects consuming high-fat diets. This data comparison tracks two identical high-fat diets. On the right, a wild berry supplement replaces 20% of calories. Over 3 months, the berry group logged a 21% reduction in total weight and fat. Cholesterol dropped 30%, preventing liver damage. Clinical data shows these tart berries act as a biological shield against the physiological damage caused by the heavy fats they are traditionally served with. Wild tart berries derive their biological utility from the structural elements the human body cannot actually digest. This structural breakdown shows the components of a wild berry. Beyond the water and sugar, there is a dense internal architecture of polyphenols, powerful antioxidant compounds, and prebiotic fibers. During the early stages of digestion, the upper gastrointestinal tract breaks down and absorbs the simple sugars and fruit juices. However, the complex polyphenols and prebiotic fibers manage to survive the harsh acidic environment of the stomach completely intact. These unbroken compounds continue through the system into the lower gut. Once they reach the microbiome, they act as highly targeted fuel, specifically feeding and multiplying beneficial strains of bacteria. Because the human body cannot use these indigestible parts to feed its own cells, these elements exist specifically to cultivate the internal bacterial ecosystem. As the beneficial bacteria multiply, they crowd out harmful microbes and shift the biological landscape of the gut. This fortified bacterial landscape forms a barrier that blocks the inflammatory signals normally triggered by digesting heavy fats. Physically changing the makeup of the microbiome stops systemic inflammation from taking hold, neutralizing the risks associated with a high-fat diet. Conditions within the digestive tract exert a continuous influence on health across the entire human anatomy. Anthocyanins, the compounds giving lingonberries their red color, are processed in the gut, protecting heart cells. The map also shows a metabolic connection, with the optimized microbiome preventing sudden blood sugar spikes. These localized changes ripple outward, protecting multiple organ systems. These protections extend to specific bacterial threats, preventing oral yeast infections and fighting off the bacteria that cause urinary tract infections. Each of these systemic benefits traces back to the traditional combination of fats and wild berries. These tart fruits function as a specific tool for managing and cultivating our internal ecosystem. The clinical research reveals a precise alignment between this centuries-old dietary habit and the specific biological needs of the human microbiome.